Hey guys, welcome back to the Rebel Show. We are in week 3 of January of the new year. I hope you guys are killing it. I'm doing something a little bit different this year. So I'm actually mapping out my year with the natural cycles that we go through, right? Winter is such a hard time to get all these like brand new ambitious goals going. So what I've decided to do is actually rest and reflect and rebuild my foundation so that come spring, we can just hit the ground running, launching new things. I don't want to give it away. I almost gave some things away, but launching new things that are going to be super beneficial for you guys. So that's what I'm doing. But with that, I thought, let's take a look back on 2024. Let's take a look back on some of my favorite interviews, some of my favorite episodes from 2024. Rebel Show started in 24. We completed 32 episodes in 2024. I'm so proud of us. We actually started with my coach, Bedros, his YouTube team. They've been phenomenal. They taught us so much. And now I'm really proud to say we are fully in-house. Ashley behind the camera, she's been killing it. She's doing the posting, the scheduling, the editing, the thumbnails, the filming. It's incredible what she's doing. She's a one-man, or I should say one-woman show, and she's killing it. So super pumped. I'm excited for 2025. We have some incredible guests lined up for you guys, some great topics. But before we get into the rest of the year, I want to take a look back 2024, some of my favorite moments from the Rebel Show, and some of my favorite interviews. So without further ado, let's take a look.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan?
Encouraging reviews. So one thing you can do is actually have at your checkout counter, have a little QR code made up, frame it nicely so it's visible, and encourage your clients to scan that and give you a review, whether it's on Google, on Yelp, or through your online booking site. A lot of online booking sites actually you can automate it to where it texts them 24, 48, 72 hours after their service and asks them for a review. Then what you're going to want to do is start screenshotting those reviews and posting them on your website and sharing them to your social media. This is what we call social proof. You want to gather as much of that as you can so that you're helping to build towards that like, know, and trust factor, mainly though, when it comes to reviews. Encourage reviews. You can give incentives. You can offer $5 off the service if they leave you a review. Get creative with it, but make sure you're collecting those reviews. Point number 6 is going to be collabs and trades. I built my entire business when I was located in Newport Beach, California, based on collabs and trades. So you can find any non-competing service provider. So if you're a waxer, hairstylist, nail tech, massage therapist, barbers, again, any non-competing services, you can offer to trade. You can, if they've already got a fully built clientele, offer a free service. And then if they love it, they're going to go and share with their clients. Offer incentives, maybe $5 per referral that they can use towards future services. You can even do trades. Now, when I do a trade, I like to do dollar for dollar. So if I'm getting my hair done and trade for a waxing service, if she normally would charge $120, I normally would charge $60 for whatever service it is that she picked, then I would owe her the difference of $60. I'm going to just start off with saying I don't regret my time at European Wax Center at all. I'm really seeing the need for a mindset shift. You guys have to keep in mind, and this is how I went into this position, was that I was getting paid to learn. So it's just a stepping stone. It's part of the journey to achieving your ultimate goal, which a lot of us want, to go out on our own and have successful, fully booked clienteles. Waiting lists would be ideal, and just being able to fully support ourselves with our own businesses. But we need to work our way to that point. Of course, there's always going to be your gems and the exceptions to the rule, but I highly recommend straight out of school of just finding somewhere to work that has great training. They're able to bring in clientele for you. And then you're just focusing on the actual technique of waxing. You're learning how to wax. You're learning how to communicate with clients. You're learning how to work with other people, especially if this is your first job. And then you can learn a lot of the back end stuff too. So this is where the mindset stuff, having that mindset shift is really important. Of course, you're not going to love everything about working for someone because you have to play by their rules. But what I loved about European Wax Center was I did like the structure. I did like that they brought the clientels in, so I was able to really be doing high volume. I was waxing constantly all day. Is it exhausting? Absolutely. But I learned so much through that. My technique, I started picking it up because you have no choice. Like the first week, training week, let's talk about training week. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely intense. So when I first started, that was back when we had red scrubs too. Now I think they're gray with like a little red line. And I'm pretty sure they all have like the same pillars and like the same look. I just went by the one that I worked at not too long ago, and it was very strange. I went up front and I asked my husband, I'm like, can you take a picture? And the girls at the front desk are looking at me like, what the heck are you doing? And then they're laughing at me. And it felt so good though to walk out of there, them laughing at me. I'm like, you're stuck still here. I'm good. Not. I can leave. Anyways, okay, sorry. Getting off on a side tangent. But when I first got started, training week was crazy. It was really intense. So just push yourself to get through that first week. They had me sit down, watch some videos. Then there was a trainer that worked there and would also provide training, which is what I worked my way up to being. So they provided like the hands-on training. I was required to help book models, but they did help as well. So they would get girls from like the call center or other waxers from other locations that they also own to come in, and I would be practicing on them. And then there was the final test. So the final test was a Brazilian wax. I had my friend come in. I went through all the steps, did really well. And I guess I passed because they kept me on. So you start first, I believe it's like you're pink and then you work up different levels. So at first I was required to do a Brazilian in 30 minutes, and they taught me a beginner Brazilian pattern. And then from there, you would move up to the next level of needing to be able to do a Brazilian in 15 minutes. Now, I know this is a lot and that can be really terrifying, but the patterns that they teach, once you get a few under your belt, you'll get there. And the nice thing is that you're not having to also check your clients in and out. You provide the service, you walk them up front, and then their front desk people takes care of the rest. Now, one of the biggest things that a lot of people were talking to me about on my Instagram when I had posted this on my stories was the pressure of retail. So with retail, I would really lead with like what they actually needed rather than just trying to make the sale. So sometimes it would tick off the managers, but overall for the month, I would always be like top sales. So there's really something to it. Make sure you're serving your client well. So little things like, pulling 3 body washes just so they could get that 20% off. And I knew they could actually use the body wash and it would help them achieve the results they needed. Like I would do things like that instead of trying to get them to just buy all of it. So I would always start people off. And this is something you can do even if you're out on your own, is a great exfoliant. Right. Honestly, now I recommend scrub gloves, which I know European Wax Center does not have, but a great exfoliant, a great body wash, and then an ingrown hair serum. Or I would also be trying to set myself up for a future sale by talking to new clients about these things. I would acknowledge what I call like client objections before they ever said them. So this is another reason why I love European Wax Center, because of the volume you're doing. You're putting in the practice, but you're putting in the practice under their reputation, under the name, the business name of European Wax Center. It's not going to follow you. So that's one thing too that's really important is to think about, is when you go out on your own, now the reputation that you build is solely on you, and it's really hard to come back from a bad reputation.
Hey guys, quick interruption to the show to bring you a offer you won't be able to resist. If you have not yet tried Rebel Wax, then go ahead and visit our site, lashandwaxoc.com, and use code TRYREBEL, all one word, code TRYREBEL, to claim 2 free sample size bags. Let's first start with
packages. So you always want with new people, it's really important to create scarcity and urgency. So anytime I had a new client come in, first of all, I had a new client incentive because I was so confident in my technique and in my customer service and just like the overall experience that I provided for them, that I knew once they came in, they experienced the service, me, my business, that they would want to continue to come back. So to incentivize people to come in and book their first appointment with me, I do actually half off of their first Brazilian. So that was something I advertised, was half off your first Brazilian. And then I also would offer a free brow wax for their first time. It cost me very little in product, and it didn't take me much time at all. And again, I was so confident in my service, confident in the overall experience. I knew they would want to come back for more. So those are my incentives to get people in through the door. Once they were in, then I would have a package deal specifically just for new clients. So it would be buy two, get one for free. So you always want to try to push new clients to coming back a total of 4 times, because number one, it takes about 3 to 4 services to sync up your hair growth cycles. So that's when they're going to start really achieving the best results. So that was number one reason why I set it up this way. Secondly, was that once they have experienced 3 to 4 weeks, or 3 to 4 appointments, I'm sorry. So this would be about 3 to 4 months with you. That gives you that much more time to build that relationship with you. And then they're going to want to continue on with you from there as well. So you really want to try to book those first 4 appointments and get them committed to those first 4. So what I would do was create the urgency by today only. If you purchase a package, you will get buy 1 or buy 2, get 1 for free. And then I would have all the pricing broken down for them. I was asking myself, how can I get like increased cash flow, but also like have kind of a paycheck again? So that's where memberships now come into play. So that's why I decided I always had the packages, and then I started to implement memberships. So what I would do with memberships, and this is just what I did, so you guys can tweak this to fit yourself and your business, but I'm not telling you to do this. It's just what I did and what really worked for me. So I would have memberships available where it was a $99 sign-up fee. So they'd pay $99 to become a member. And then they would have a low monthly fee for whatever service it was that they were signing up for a membership for. So I would have memberships for eyelash extensions, for their fills, not for the full set, but for their fills, for Brazilians, and then for spray tanning. So I would do at least a 20% discount. So if it was $50, then they were saving $10. So on the first or the 15th of the month, depending on when it is that they signed up, they would automatically be charged $40, and they would be given an allowance of 1 Brazilian. Or for eyelash extensions, I think back at this time, because the prices were a lot lower than they are now, I believe it was like $99 for the month, and they got 2 hours worth of fills. So they could break it up into 2 1-hour fills, so what I called a regular fill, or 4 mini fills, which were 30 minutes apiece. Or maybe they did 1 regular fill for an hour, 2 minis. They could break it up however they wanted, but they had the allowance of 4 fills. With spray tanning, I believe I charged $99 as well, and they could get 3 spray tans a month and use them as they pleased. So that actually went over really, really, really well for me. The memberships, people love them. They were already prepaid. You also want to look at your clients. My ideal client's pain point was lack of time, but they really desired to keep up with all their stuff. You have to keep in mind, I was in Newport Beach, California. I feel like the beauty mecca of like the US, maybe that along with like New York or something. I don't know. But the women there really like to keep up on their beauty treatment. So having the membership, it just solved a lot of problems for them, and it solved a lot of problems for me, and it gave them the opportunity to save some money and stay consistent with their services. But what I really loved about it was on the 1st and 15th, now I knew that I was going to have 10 charges coming through, and in essence, I kind of gave myself a paycheck, and then I had my goals to reach. So it's on the 1st, my first goal was to have 10 members, and then on the 15th, 10 members, and then just continue to grow it from there. And then I had some additional benefits to being a member. Any add-on services, they would get 20% off. So say they were signed up as a Brazilian member, they could add on a brow wax for 20% off. They could add on a spray tan and get 20% off, or any service that I offered, they would get 20% off. And then I also did where they got 10% off retail. So any eyelash wash or scrub gloves, exfoliants, ingrown hair serums, body washes, any of that, they would get a discount on that as well. So memberships and packages worked really well for me for helping to build my clientele. Now let's talk about your content. So your content must deliver on the promise that you're making in your bio. Okay, so my promise is that I'm going to be posting business tips, waxing demos, and I'm going to be helping waxers increase their profits. So when you go through my feed and you're watching my content, that's exactly what it is. I'm either helping you increase your profits through business tips, through improving your actual waxing technique. I'm delivering on the promise that I made in my bio. So this is a really simple does not always equal easy, but it's fairly simple, fairly easy. Sit down, just kind of start brainstorming, make some of these changes. It's not permanent. You can always change it again in the future, but at least I want you guys to commit to at least 2 or 3 of these things. And what I would recommend is start with your profile picture, your name field. Okay, so the SEO, change your name field, and then definitely have a very clear call to action, which most likely will be book now with your booking link. Side note, if you're not utilizing online booking, that can really hinder clients from booking with you. A lot of people, it's a last minute thought. They're like, putting their kids to bed, and then they're laying in bed and they're like, oh crap, I really need a wax before that Mexico trip. Let me do that right now while it's on top of mind. If you don't have online booking, you're just adding additional steps for people, and it's keeping them from actually getting in with you. So when you want to make it as easy as possible to get that yes, or to, get that booking. So make sure you're utilizing online booking if you're not already.
I had to do it through people.
Yeah.
And the more I could help people develop themselves, the easier my job got. And that's how I ended up finishing my career after 40 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
retired at the age of 61.
Oh, so you've been retired for, the math ain't mathin' for me, 18?
61, and I'm 79.
Wait, okay,
18.
I said it. Okay, I was on. I'm in the beauty industry, guys. Okay, I don't need to be good at math.
It was a trick question.
But that made me think of a saying that I recently heard. To go fast, go alone. To go far, go together. So that's what you did was you went far and you built a team. And accomplished great things. And I have to say, I was just talking to Chance about this the other day. Whose idea was it to get the mini shopping carts in the grocery stores?
Okay, I have to confess, I had nothing to do with it other than I was just a communications conduit because it was Brianna's to say, why don't you put those little shopping carts in your stores, for the kids can push them around. And so what a great training program. The kids will say, I don't want to go to the competition. I want to go to Ralph's because they have the little shopping cart for me. And she was absolutely right. And all the other chains, once we did it, all the other chains did it too.
Do you remember what? So people have been copying my ideas for a long time. Yeah. The last episode was talking about our wax pads and how we have many copycatters of our wax pads. Yeah. We don't even need to go there. It's fine.
I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there because, so she started doing the wax pads, but she had somebody manufacture them for her. All right. And it was down in Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
And then she would end up either taking them up there or mailing them up there, but she would also mail them around the country because she developed customers for these wax pads. All right. So she goes into the manufacturers when she was down in Huntington Beach one visit, and we went in to just check on productivity and everything. And he says, we're going out of business on that machine. We're getting rid of the machine.
They were closing down their warehouse.
Closing down
just
their
fully
warehouse.
online.
Okay, closing down the warehouse. And she said, well, what are you going to do with the machine? Oh, we're just going to junk it. What if I bought it? What if I bought the machine? Because she liked the concept, but there was only one company that actually could do it for her. So she hauls all this stuff up and I guess it's here somewhere.
Yeah, it's all here.
Yeah, it's all here.
We showed you
in the warehouse, and she moved it all up here and kept the production going.
Well, I had some help.
Well, yeah.
His name's Chance.
Well, Chance.
I called him and I said I canceled my flight back home, and he's like, no, I'm just kidding. He knew what I was up to. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So he drove down on his birthday to come pick it all up.
But see, when I say you and Chance are one.
That's true.
When I say Chance, you and Chance and you are one. So, because it's a team. If you weren't a team and if you weren't working together, you'd probably be going in a different direction and you wouldn't be as successful as you are today.
It's true. It's very true.
So.
All right. I had something else that came to mind and then it left. Shopping carts. I wanted to make sure that they heard
what
about
you're
that.
thinking there, I must have been an okay grandpa.
I think you're a pretty good grandpa.
Okay, because she has me doing this. And
did you notice how I waited till yesterday to tell you?
Oh, that's right. That's right. So we're up here. We're up visiting. We're seeing their two homes they have, coming up to see the warehouse. This was strictly a social visit and see the grandkids and all that.
This is social.
All right.
Social
and all
media.
of a sudden here, I've got this white screen.
It's a light.
Illuminating me. And here I got a mic here. And all of a sudden, I have this story to tell. So, yeah. So
you love telling your story. My grandpa's a great storyteller. He's a great storyteller.
I don't know about that. But anyway, obviously, I'm extremely proud of you. Carolyn is very proud of you both. You're successful and you made it happen. And I'll come back to my favorite song. You did it your way. That's right. And
you want to give us a little taste of my way?
No, I'm not.
Are you sure?
No, because
you got a mic, Grandpa.
Really?
Come on.
And
Grandpa.
now the end is near, and I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, but more than this, I did it my way.
First, what is powder? Like what's its purpose? What does it do? It helps to absorb moisture, right? So if you think about it, when you're applying powder over the skin and the hair, it's actually drawing moisture, not only from the skin, but from the hair as well. And when you dehydrate out your hair, then you're leaving it susceptible to more breakage. So instead of it being pulled from the root, you could potentially be breaking the hair off at the surface. Now, you don't always realize that you're breaking the hairs at the surface at first. It's like that 2, 3, 4 day mark after being waxed that clients will start to feel like that prickly feeling. It might be a little bit itchy, or they'll have pretty quick like regrowth. And that's a telltale sign. Is that how you say that? Telltale sign that you have broken the hairs, unfortunately. So it makes sense, right? If you think about it, powder absorbs moisture. So of course it's going to be dehydrating to the skin and the hair. And in order to get the best results, we really want nicely hydrated skin, nicely hydrated hair, so that we can really get a good grip and remove from the root. So with oil, it's nice because not only is it, so oil, the purpose of oil is to
hydrate, so both the skin and the hair, but also to create a protective layer between the wax and your skin so that the wax is really focusing on removing the hair rather than attaching itself to the skin, because we're not trying, like, yes, waxing is exfoliating, but we really, in order to make it the most comfortable experience for our client, we want the least amount of like adhesion to the skin itself. We really want to be focusing on the hair and removing the hair. So once I switched over from powder to oil, I noticed a huge difference in the results, in the actual service itself when it came to the discomfort for my clients. They loved it, and it made such a difference. Now, when are some times that I may use powder? Because you still do want to have powder available in your treatment room for you when needed. So I'm not just like across the board, like against no powder, don't ever use powder. There's definitely times when powder can come in handy. So when we started our health and fitness journey, it's like if we weren't tracking, first of all, our starting weight, BMI, like all the health stats, so blood pressure, getting our blood work done, like how can we measure growth if we don't know like our starting stats and then keep track of them, throughout the journey?
All those stats too, and then the food also, measuring and keeping track of how much we're taking in, our intake, and what we're actually using throughout the day too.
Yeah, and, totally.
Intake of food and water or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
all of it, and you can't grow or, have any like benefits from it if you're not tracking it.
You can't grow what you
don't track. Then what I was also thinking for business is like, if we're not looking at what our monthly revenues are at the very basics, but now we're seeing, so we're implementing the EOS system, so entrepreneurial operating system. Yes, that's what that stands for. So we now have like our weekly team meetings. They're called L10 meetings. And part of the meetings is called a scorecard. So now we're realizing like, oh my gosh, there's so much that we really need to be tracking in order to measure the growth and then be able to continue to grow it, and then like know where we have some flaws or like things that we need to fix. So like, for example, on a YouTube subscriber count, how many order mistakes we're having on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. How are we going to improve on that if we're not tracking it and we don't know what those numbers are?
And then I think when we really pivoted that was when we were tracking our emails and email tracking, right?
Oh yeah, the course and stuff. So having tracking how many people sign up for our free 6-week course that we put out. I really am starting to see that you can't. And okay, so when we went to our half-day session with Bedros, there was a lot of questions that he asked me that my answer was I don't know. And then
it's not that you didn't know, but you had it.
It wasn't
somewhere.
Readily available.
Yeah.
It wasn't organized.
So you needed to wait. You needed to make him wait a minute so you could look it up and find it.
But it wasn't intentionally being tracked though.
Wasn't,
like I had to go into the system and like find the information. So he looked at me. He's like, all right, I like you guys. What did he say? He's like, I like you guys. I want to keep working with you guys.
Well, I like you guys. I'm assuming that you guys want to keep working with me in the future. So don't ever come to my office or to another meeting without knowing your stats
or saying the word I don't know.
Yeah, and don't ever tell me you don't know something when I ask you.
Got it.
I said, all right. 10-4.
So that was a failure / more. That I wouldn't say that was a failure. I'd say just more we're learning what to be tracking.
Yeah,
because I didn't even know what to be tracking.
And that's the reason why we hired him too.
Yeah,
is to like tell us that we need to be like tracking these things and learning these things and some of the words and systems. Like we didn't know what an EOS system was to begin with, and all these other systems are brand new to us.
Yeah.
We started out of our garage and grew this into what it is now. So we're learning the business behind the product and behind your services and the business behind the business.
Yep. Yeah. And I take constructive like criticism like that. Well, like I like that he delivered it that way, because if he was like too soft about it, then I'm like, oh, that's just a suggestion. Mm-hmm. The way that he said, I'm like, 10-4.
Well, that's why
I will not be saying I don't know in your office ever again.
Yeah.
And I made it a point like, I know my stats better now. And every day we're continuing to realize like, oh, we got to be tracking this stat and that, whatever. But the bottom line is you guys like really need to be tracking
everything about your business, but starting at minimum with your profits and losses. You need, or your revenue and then your expenses, so that you have your true like profit. I can't tell you how many coaching calls I've gotten on with people, or even just like the consultations, and I'm asking them for their P&L reports and they're not even sure like what that is. And that's fine, again, because everyone starts somewhere, but then not just saying, I don't know, and then being like, well, I don't know, so I'm just not going to do it. It's like, I don't know this. Now I need to go actively seek out resources to be able to learn and figure this out. Okay.
Exactly.
So you can't just use it as an excuse to just not do it.
Well, everybody's gonna be tracking something different. Like the esthetician in the treatment room, they should be tracking how much wax they go through, so they could keep their inventory tight and they know when to put in the next order and stuff.
Yes.
So everybody's gonna have something different to track. Like we learned what a landed cost was, and we didn't know what
your
landed
landing
cost. Like what is that? And that's like getting our product like shipped here, delivered, all the costs that it takes to get it from point A to point B and to you guys.
Yeah, including the staff that we hire for
everything.
unload days.
Just everything that has to do
even if
with that product getting on the shelves, getting packaged and sent out.
Yeah. So
And
we
that's-
knew what we were paying for the product, obviously, and then like the general shipping cost to get it to us, but we weren't then like breaking that down and calculating. Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah.
what
So
our
I think
landing
that's a big
cost
thing
was.
is to where you're at right now, just try to track what you can and what you do know.
What tips can you give to others about, first of all, being intentional on who it is you're following online? Like, if for me personally, I did kind of a sweep of who I'm following. If anyone elicited any like negative feelings within me, whether it was their fault or not, it totally could be they're just living their lives. But in me, it's like, it just something to feel good when they would pop up on my feed. I did kind of a little sweep and purge of who I was following.
I like the purge. I like the word purge.
Yeah. So what advice do you have on that, on how to kind of like help protect yourself from falling into that comparison? You did mention not first thing in the morning. Of course, we don't want to set that tone, but
yeah, but sometimes it's natural. Well, if you're going towards it, I think you gotta be just aware of your feelings first of all. And I think, you can always learn from someone, from anyone. So it's like, okay, instead of getting the feeling, oh my God, this is so amazing, I will never do this. This is so amazing, maybe I can do this. Or first, think about what are your unique values.
Yes.
How can you, because that's again, if we do this, you're taking someone's creativity, you're not allowing your creativity to grow.
yes.
So I think the more you put in from outside, like from social media into yourself, that's how I felt for a while. I felt like unease because I couldn't even think straight for myself because it's all outside.
Yeah.
What the world wants me to think. And the less is there, the more creative I become. So it's like I create. And then when I create it and I finish, then I can go and take a look.
Yes.
Because we forget about our uniqueness.
Yeah.
And the superhero is within you. You just need to discover it.
Yeah.
That's what I say. So you gotta find the uniqueness, your core values, what you can talk about and how you can talk about. Then you gotta understand that the way how this person is doing the reels or doing something else, not necessarily that speaks from you.
Yeah.
Like I some people are super funny and they would get the funny way, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking probably not me. My daughter would be great with that. So I can use her doing this and recording me, and I can use her ideas or my son's ideas to do that. So I think you gotta just go into your uniqueness and allow yourself to create, because otherwise you're gonna get sucked into the tunnel
Absolutely.
of it, and you're gonna lose yourself.
Yeah.
And it's so easy nowadays.
It is.
It's just the amount of information is saturated and
Yes.
it's so overwhelming, can be overwhelming. So think about it. Like, some people go and lock the phone and they don't look at it for all day, and it's fine. Listen, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Think how it will feel for you. You got to ask yourself, if I'm looking at this in the morning, does this fill me in?
Yeah.
Fill me up? Do I feel more empowered, or I feel deflated like a balloon and you're not feeling good and you can't create? So it's like really understanding this and then creating a habit out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I do a lot of times. And then I'm like, nope, I'm putting this on the side.
Yeah.
It's time to create. It's time to kill. It's time to go out there and show my message.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, for me, it would be very easy. And you might have audience that it's maybe coming from another country. For me, it would be very easy to jump into comparison because I come from another country. English is a second language. My family cracks up. My kids sometimes ask me, what did you just say? They, and you know, it's like if I would not have a thick skin, that would be very difficult for me. But I feel like I'm looking at it as this is empowering for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have a cute accent, all right?
Yes,
and if I mess
you
up
do.
some words, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like loving yourself. I think you need to just love who you are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think the foundation is besides discipline, having the love for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and truly appreciate you as a human being and loving every single moment of it, because if we are the biggest critics, and if you come out like this, it's so hard to show love to others.
Yes.
Because then you can't show to others if you don't love yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just showing up authentically, it's so important, and you will attract and find your right people too. I feel like we can tend to try to fit into boxes to attract the people we think we want to attract. But if you just show up authentically as yourself, you will attract and help who you're supposed to be helping and adding value.
Yeah. And it's like if you have a mission and you have a purpose, you have a passion, you know that you can help others. I actually, based on what I was doing before I came to this country, I created the LBBD method, meaning that live it, breathe it, be obsessed, and don't quit.
Ooh, I love that.
It's like, that's like, if you think about it, that's what you got to do. You got to speak up. You got to speak up your ideas. You got to put it out in the universe, and the right people will come to your circle, I think.
Absolutely.
They're not right. They might be there, and you need to purge them. I like that. And remove them. But the ones that are supposed to stay, they will be there. And I think it's okay, because sometimes we get so attached to friends, to people, and we love them, and then out of nowhere something happens and they not in a close circle of anymore. And I think you got to understand it was meant to be.
Yeah. There's seasons for everything, and for people as well, that's included. Like, just what do you have to say about the competition and that scarcity mindset, and some tools to help them switch gears and know that there's enough for all of us?
Here's what I know, and I probably have a different perspective than maybe a lot of the ladies who are listening to this, right? Because like Jocko Willink says, I've always been factory installed. My default has been aggressive. Like, I'm going to lean into, I'm going to do things right. I'm going to be morally accurate. I'm going to live, by congruent to good values. Yeah. But I'm going to be aggressive. And if someone's hating on me or my product, and they don't even know me, it's likely my product, and also talking about how we're cutthroat, we're this, we're that. It's like, okay, I'm going to quietly put you out of business. Like, I believe success is the best revenge. And so, but you also have to understand, the more you rise in any industry, the more likely you are to get attention. When you get attention, most of the attention you get is going to be from your competition, who feels like, I could have done that, and they could have, but they didn't.
But they didn't.
They chose to cut corners. They chose to be lazy. They chose to stay up late. They chose to drink on weekends while you guys were working on weekends. They chose not. Why would you do a marathon, let alone on a trail? Like, losers, right? Well, you just became more resilient, more mentally tough. And so if you guys are both horses, I'm going to bet on you two instead of them, because you're more likely to win. And so they see the inequities in themselves when they see you guys succeed. And look, in the last 12 months, it seems like you guys came out of nowhere. To a lot of your industry, it seems like you came out of nowhere. Now, you've been in the industry for years, and you guys have been doing this for years.
13 years.
13 years. But it's like the 13-year overnight success. And there's that bamboo plant where you plant it, and for 4 years, you're watering it, cultivating the soil. Like, nothing's coming out. And then there's like a 30-day period where it grows like 12 feet after 4 years of nothing happening to it. It's the same thing in entrepreneurship. You're just head down doing the work. But then, you hire a coach and you come up with a great product. And then you decide, I'm going to put my head down and execute. No more f***ing around. And then the last 12 months, you had like 10 years worth of growth. And your competition's like, that could have been me. I hate the fact that it wasn't. Rather than taking ownership of it, I'm going to on them publicly. And so you could either dwell on it and I'm telling your audience right now, especially women, are more highly emotional than us men are.
No.
Right? And so, but take a little piece of advice from me. Turn that emotion of sadness and how dare they, why are they doing this to me, into anger, but don't take it out on them on social media because now you're stooping to their level, right?
Yep.
Instead, let them choke on your success. Be even more determined, even more committed, even more successful, help even more people in your industry, change even more lives, and then let them just self-destruct. And your customers will always have your back. But I think that's the best advice I can give is success will be something they will choke on, the competition. You don't need to join the hate fest. Because otherwise, my dad had a saying. He's like, if two people are wrestling, if a man is wrestling a pig in the mud, someone looking from the far is not going to know who the man is and who the pig is.
Wow.
Like both of you look like you're in slop.
That's
you know
good.
What I mean? So
Ooh.
why am I going to stoop?
that.
Yes. Why am I going to stoop to that low?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. And I think that's where Bree gets fueled on is that kind of stuff though too.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep running
Oh, it's
faster
like-
and keep going.
Good for
They
you.
don't
So-
understand. They're lighting the fire, man. Like and this always happens when I start to slow down a little bit. I'm like, all right, it's time to get going again. So like if we do have the issue of ingrowns and our client is struggling with ingrowns, how the heck do we treat it? And how do we gotta find the root cause for root. See what I did there? Pun intended. It was so funny. All right. So we have to put our detective cap on and ask a lot of questions. So first question I always ask is, what body wash are you using? 90% of the time they say Dove body wash or bar soap. We cannot be using that when we are waxing. So even though a body wash may be deemed like good and natural or healthy for your skin, doesn't mean it's always a great fit when you're waxing. So Dove is one of those, bar soap's one of those, because it's leaving a filmy residue on top of the skin. So when the hair is going to grow back, it gets stuck under that layer of product and it starts growing underneath the surface of the skin. This is when you see surface ingrowns, and a lot of them, especially on legs, usually it's due to their body wash. You'll see surface ingrowns on the bikini area as well. So that's the first question I always ask. The body wash that I personally recommend, use, and love and have been using for years is called Nutribiotic. And this is usually available at most like health food stores. So back in Southern California, we had a Mother's Market. I believe Whole Foods should have it. Here we have a Natural Grocers that I found it at, or you can find it on Amazon as well. So I'll make sure that that's linked below. I personally get the big gallon jug of it. It's about $50, but my whole family is using it and it lasts me a really long time. I'm only buying that maybe every 6 to 8 months. So well worth it. And they also have smaller sizes that you can retail for your clients as well, or just give that to them as a recommendation. Really cost effective, and it actually helps treat the ingrowns as well because it has grape seed extract in it and it does not leave a filmy residue on top of the skin at all. So the main reason that we don't want to use any body wash that leaves that filmy residue is because when you start waxing, now you're removing the hair from the root. So when it's growing back, it's really thin and soft. So it doesn't have that blunt edge or that sharp edge anymore like you get when you're shaving. So you might be like, well, I've never had an issue with this and I've used this body wash for years. Well, if you've been shaving, first of all, you're not removing from the root, you're removing from the surface, and you're creating that sharp blunt edge so it's able to puncture through that film. Now, when you're waxing, the whole point of waxing is we do want to thin and soften the hair, but now we have to be a little bit more careful with what we're putting on our skin so we're not trapping it because it's going to have a hard time puncturing through. All right. Also, we'll want to instruct our clients to be exfoliating regularly. So you can do this through chemical exfoliation or manual exfoliation. So manual exfoliation is going to be like your scrubs or your scrub gloves. That's going to be manual exfoliation. Chemical exfoliation is going to be like your ingrown hair serums or maybe the ingrown serum pads, things like that. That's going to be more of like a chemical exfoliation. So
You want them to be using an ingrown hair serum at least twice a day if we are actively treating ingrowns. If we're just being preventative, and preventative is always key. So this is why every single one of my new clients, I'm always making sure that they're leaving with a pair of scrub gloves and an ingrown hair serum so that we are preventing this issue. Ingrowns don't always start right after your first wax. Sometimes you don't start to have an issue until wax 3, 4, or 5, because that's when you're really starting to thin and soften the hair pretty drastically. So then you can start to have the issues of ingrown. So we really want to work on being preventative. But ingrown hair serum twice a day if we're actively treating ingrowns. So morning and night. Now, the biggest struggle that we can run into is that clients go ahead and purchase this, but then they don't use it. It gets stored in their medicine cabinet. So what I like to do is, first of all, acknowledge that to them. Hey, I have many clients that will purchase this. And then as women, we have so many products, we put them away and we forget about them and they're not being used. You won't see results from a product you're not using. So what I want you to do is go ahead and put this next to your toothbrush. And every time you brush your teeth, use that as a trigger to remind you to go ahead and apply your ingrown hair serum. So that's worked really well for me in the past and has helped me to help my clients create the habit of actually using the ingrown hair serum. Now, if we're not actively treating ingrowns and we're just being preventative, then once a day, morning or night, they can choose, will be totally fine and help with preventing. All right, then the ingrown pads that I mentioned as well. So you would not use a serum and the pads at the same time. You still can use scrub gloves in the shower. So how you use scrub gloves is in the shower. You get them wet. You put your body wash straight on the scrub gloves. You'll go ahead and lather that up and then wash your body as normal with the gloves on, and you'll use circular motions. So you can use the scrub gloves at the same time as using the ingrown pads. It's just you're not going to be using the pads daily. That's going to be a 2 to 3 times a week thing. They need to be moisturizing as well. Again, using a film-free moisturizer. Personally, in my house, we use Hemp's, and I've never had any issues with it, and I really enjoy that lotion. Loose clothing is going to be important too. Again, and I know a lot of this is repetitive, but repetition is key. We want this to become just second nature to you guys. So you're feeling confident in what to advise your clients to do. Again, we want to be super preventative and not have to get to the point of trying to backtrack and treat. So education is key in that, understanding how all this works, and then being able to reiterate that to your client and explain it to them so they know what to expect. All right, so loose clothing. That can be really helpful, especially within that 24 hours. But if they're struggling with ingrowns, then this might be a thing that they just need to do all the way up until the hair has fully grown back. At that point, it doesn't really matter. They can wear a little bit tighter clothing. All right, cotton underwear is great too because it's breathable. I know I've gone over that. And then this is a big one. And the last one I'm going to leave you guys with, people don't ever think about this. Shampoo and conditioner. When our clients are washing their hair, we want to instruct them not to allow, when they go to rinse, not to allow that shampoo and conditioner to run down their body, especially over the areas that are being waxed, because it is going to leave a filmy residue on top of the skin. So what I personally do and what I advise my clients to do is go ahead and flip your head forward and rinse with your head like upside down so the shampoo is not running on your body at all. And then the same goes for conditioner as well.
But social media changed the game for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Like I remember the owner, her name is Jessica. She owns a shop in Laguna, which is like the coolest store. Came in one day and she goes, she was just starting the shop. She goes, you have to make an Instagram. I go, what am I going to do? Post people popping pimples? Like no one, I remember saying this.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Have gross faces? Like no one's going to want to see someone you don't look pretty after a facial. Usually it depends on, for acne.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
dermaplaning or something, you look
little beat up
glowing.
for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah. You look a little beat up in certain facials. No, that's not good advertising. In the beginning of social media, there was it wasn't very authentic, and nor would it was a weird time to be authentic. Everyone was like showing all their, and I just remember as it grew and I got to see like, oh my God, people are leaving red-faced or they're showing pimples being popped. I was on the internet for 2 hours that day. I was like, what? I could watch this. I could watch this all day long. Yeah. So I realized, but that girl literally changed my life because had I not listened to her, like social media, and at the same time I had some big influencers. The show The Bachelor was coming to me.
Yeah.
I don't watch the show. I didn't know a lot of the girls. This is like 9-10 years ago. I knew they were a really big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never just watched it.
I waxed a lot of them at European.
Yeah,
And
no.
same thing. But they loved me because I didn't really know who they were. So they got treated the same way as everybody
They're
else.
so great. Yeah. And I didn't know what was, and I remember the first live I've ever went on was Amanda Stanton, who are great friends now.
Yeah.
I love her. But she goes, we're going live. And I thought live, I don't know what that meant.
Yeah.
And so here she is. I'm live, not knowing I'm live. And I'm behind her. I'm doing her facial and her mask is sitting and we're kind of frenzies. At this point, we're like friends. So I'm doing something. I put some gum in my mouth. If I was on
Doing your
camera,
thing. Yeah.
I would have been like, and so she goes, someone just said they were going to put toothpaste on their face. I said, oh, for God's sakes, and I'm just being funny in myself. And she's asking me questions. Now I'm thinking she's typing answers because she's doing her thing. And I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
And the phones start ringing and people are asking where, and she's like, oh, people are asking what, what Facial Launch's website is or whatever. And so I'm talking to her while she's on the thing. And for years, people were like, oh my God, that live was so funny. And I didn't know, like, that day put me on the map. And that's when I was already on Instagram, but live was brand new.
Yeah.
And that show was trending. So the engagement was like crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. So it's interesting.
That's
I
awesome.
single-handedly watched how that day changed the business. It just did. It was cool.
There's a big lesson in that. It's like taking opportunity as they come and just like doing it, just jumping in and doing it. You never know. It could take that one thing that can change everything.
And I could have said no. And I'm kind of glad I didn't know I was on camera because I might have said no.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you showed up authentically as yourself and then
that's
take it or leave it. What you see is what you get.
Yeah. And I'm all hunched over. I wanted to suck in and look cute. And I was like myself and laughing. And so that moment was a lesson learned because I realized authentic is so important. And 100%. I always wanted to be perfect on camera,
Yeah, but it's so much more effort to try to like be perfect in that, and then you have to keep up with the persona once you meet people in real life, and like that's something that we're so big on too. It's just authenticity. What you see is what you get. I'm the same person in person as you're gonna see online.
Yeah. And I have that problem with a lot of the influencers. I have a lot of influencers and TikTok.
You have been so good at that.
So yeah, we do. We have a lot. Well, they don't look the same as their filters.
Yes.
And a lot of them have really bad acting. And so I love trying to make them feel their best self. Like my whole goal is to I'm wearing makeup today, but to feel good in your skin and not have, there's so many, I don't really wear makeup. I just don't. I have lashes on and lip gloss and
that's all you need.
And I'm happy. But getting them ready for those moments or seeing people bully like this happened a long time. It's so much better than it used to be for a while. But I had some girls who had really bad skin and looked so pretty on Instagram, and their skin was they just did not look like themselves.
Yeah.
And that was hard for them. They hit a lot too.
Yeah,
So I think people are being more authentic. I'm watching it change is really cool.
Yeah, it is really changing a lot. That's great.
What advice would you have for a new entrepreneur? Most of my audience is going to be girls that are newly going solo or aspire to.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for them when embarking on this journey of entrepreneurship?
So it's so funny because I talked about this with a couple women today. My best advice is work for someone else. Work for someone else. Be fully transparent that you want to have your own business.
Yes, I like
So number one, if you're going to work for a boss that's like, no, I don't want to hire you because you're going to open up your own business. You're going to steal, blah, 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 whatever that looks like. They're not the person you want to work for.
Yeah.
Go in, be transparent. This is my goal. I want to have my own suite, my own salon, whatever that looks like. I want to come work for you. Then you need to put in the time. And this new generation that wants to be paid for everything with no experience needs to pull their head out of their ass.
Yes.
And start working for free. And I know you're going to get the worst comments from this.
Yeah.
Start
It's
working
so true,
for
though.
free because education is not free. And what you can learn from an entrepreneur about business can literally save your business when you go into business for yourself.
Yeah.
So have it be a transparent conversation on both ends. I want to open up my own business and I want to learn everything from you. Both parties win.
Yes.
I would rather have an employee for 2 years and get them to do 110% of the work than having someone that's showing up giving me 20% and then losing them after 2 years because, they want to open up their own business because I want them to be successful as well.
Yep.
Right. And those people that are like, I'm not sure. I just want to open up my own business. I would say I don't know. I think it's a high number, 85, 90, 95% fail because it's not easy and it's not sexy.
Yeah.
And you have to miss all the holidays and you have to put in the work and the grit and all that. And you don't know that unless you can learn it from someone.
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah.
work for free, be transparent,
Yep.
be on the same page. And I'm not saying like work for free, like, you know, you're going to get your hourly rate or whatever, but like the extra stuff on like, how do you send an invoice? How do you pack an order? How do you receive an order? That stuff you need to be able to do for free to learn.
Yeah.
One of my best estheticians that I had, she went, before she worked for me, first person that I hired in Vegas, she went and found who did the best Brazilians in Vegas at that time and worked under this woman for free.
Yeah.
And she was super successful, right? She put in the time. It was the education.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree 110%. And I just see everyone complaining all the time, especially like the European wax. And I know there's things about it, like I get it, but it's like you're in essence, you're actually getting paid to learn at some of these places.
100%.
But when you can find someone, it's the transparency, because now I see it from both sides now. Like as a business owner, it doesn't feel good to have someone come in, you pour in all this time and energy into them and then 3 months later they're hitting the road and they're trying to, you know, regurgitate your training or whatever it is. But having that transparent conversation, that's huge. I think a lot of people are nervous to have that conversation.
For sure. But this is what we have to change in the industry,
100%.
right? Communication is key. And you know, right? It's like dating, right? I mean, I don't know, but like having the first conversation on like, what do you want out of this? It's no different. A relationship at work or a personal relationship is no different.
Yeah.
You know, what can I bring to the table on both ends?
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's solid advice. You guys take that advice. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I've loved building out this show for the past year. I want to thank you guys. We're at like 50,000 something subscribers, which is an incredible accomplishment. And it's all because of you guys. Thank you for tuning in every week. I can't wait to see what 2025 has in store for all of us. And again, if you aren't yet subscribed, I would love if you could subscribe, turn on those notifications, like, share with a friend, and I will see you back next week.